So you don't like doing interviews. Well, that is just too bad, because if you're going to be successful on Upwork, you're going to be doing a lot of interviews. But don't worry. If you follow the instructions that I'm about to give you, you'll knock most of these interviews right out of the park, and you'll have no problem landing jobs. So interviews on Upwork can range from being very informal and easy to more formal and requiring a bit more preparation. So Upwork considers you to be interviewing, quote unquote, for a job if a potential client sends you a message using their messenger platform. Sometimes it's as simple as getting a message that says, "I really liked your proposal and profile. You look like the best fit for the job, so here's the offer. Please let me know the next steps." And that message will actually come with the offer. After that, all you have to do is communicate with the client about expectations and next steps, and then get the work done. Other times, it's a little bit more formal. For example, you might get a message that says, "Hi, I received your proposal, and I'd like to set up a Skype call. My Skype username is blah, 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 and I will be available tomorrow at 3. Does that time still work for you?" Now, the reason they're going to ask, "Does that time still work for you?" is because you took my recommendation and you gave them your availability for a Skype call. In this case, you will want to reply as soon as possible and then add them to Skype as soon as possible. Now, the key in knocking this thing out of the park is all in preparation, just like the Little League coach taught us. So I usually like to sit down at my computer about a half an hour before the Skype interview and do some more research on the client and the job. So for example, I recently had a client that was a motivational speaker, and she wanted to start a podcast that supported her profession. So I Googled her name, found her website, and just found out more about her and her profession. And this is important because during the interview, you can mention something that you saw on their website and prove that you actually care about doing a good job. Trust me, this will make a good impression, and this will put you head and shoulders above most of your competition. Next, I want to think about my elevator pitch. Why should this client hire me? What can I bring to the table that will set me apart from my competition? Now, I'm going to share something with you in a moment that will put you even further ahead of your competition, but you still need to have an elevator pitch. Next, I like to prepare a list of questions that need to be answered by the potential client. And these are all designed to get the potential client thinking about actually hiring me. So going back to the example of the motivational podcast, I might ask, how soon do you want to launch this podcast? Do you have a checklist of everything that needs to be done prior to launch? If not, I have one that I've designed that I will send you. Do you have your podcast cover art completed? Do you have interviews or audio recorded yet? And so on. Now, in question 2, I offered to send the potential client a podcast checklist. And this is going to be a huge help to her, and it's really going to solidify me as the front-running candidate for the job. I mean, who else will provide that kind of value before even being hired for the job? So the point is, you need to find a way to provide real value before they even hire you. Just send them something relevant that will actually help them. In my experience, if I do this one thing, I more than triple my odds of landing the job, and it really helps us start off on the right foot. So now you've prepped for the Skype interview, and it's showtime. So here's the way I like to run my interviews. Minute 0 through 2 is just introductions, making small talk, introducing myself, talking about local weather, or whatever happens to come to mind. Minutes 3 through 4, I give them my elevator pitch. Why should they hire me? Minutes 4 through 9, I ask the client if they have any questions, and then I confidently answer these questions. Minutes 10 through 15, then I ask if it's okay if I ask them some questions, and we go back to that list that I mentioned earlier and offer to send them something of value before they even hire me. And then minutes 15 through 17, I clearly define the next steps and when those steps will be completed. And this is absolutely crucial. Now, if you've done anything right, probably 50-60% of the time, they'll hire you on the spot. They'll say, "You know what? You seem like the perfect fit. Let's go ahead and move forward. I'm going to hire you for this." In that case, great. Lay out the next steps. What do you need from them? What do they need from you? Again, just make sure you clearly define the next steps and make sure that you both are very clear about when those steps will be completed. Now, it could be they have other interviews set up and they want to get to those other interviews before hiring somebody. So even if they're extremely impressed and you did everything right, they still don't know for a fact they want to hire you. So in that case, just ask them when a decision will be made and ask them politely to let you know either way. This will make it much, much harder for them to turn you down. So that is really it. If you hit everything on this list, you will have an extremely high success rate. Now, just to show you a little proof of that, here is a report that is available on Upwork, and it shows how often I was hired compared to the average freelancer. Now, I really wish they would give this info to me in a percentage, but as you can see, I am far, far more likely to be hired for a job than the average freelancer in my field. So follow these steps that I just laid out, and you will be too. Now, sometimes the very hardest part is just getting that first interview before you have any job history. So in this next lesson, I'm going to be talking about some tactics for getting those first crucial interviews before you have any Upwork job history at all.